So here I have a very used package of hooks and eyes. In fact, I think I only have 2 hooks and eyes. So one of the students had written and asked me about the hook and bar versus the hook and eye loop here. I prefer the hook and loop, so that's what I'm going to use on the dress, but you can use the bar if you like. All right, so I'm going to hand the camera. So you take it off with a seam ripper to get to the, all right, so we're gonna want, I can get a hold of them. We're gonna want the hook to come from this side and go over there and grab the eye. My fingers are having trouble grabbing that. All right, but anyway, oh, shoot. All right, so if I could just get my fingers to grab it. Anyways, there we go. So we're gonna want this hook tucked in here, and it's gonna go over here and grab an eye. All right, so I'm gonna flip this dress back over, and I'm gonna go ahead and take the eye off because my hook is gonna go like so from the inside. Turning it over. All right, so and I still have my thread here from before. So I'm just gonna go through all layers, and so you can see the hook is sticking out, but the other part of it is inside, and you can just go up and down a couple of times. You gotta, I know my thumb is in the way, but I have to hold it there somehow. So down through the eye, back up. I missed the eye there, I can tell, so I'm going to try that again. Back up through the hole, I should say, of the hook. All right, and back down through the fabric and through the hook. So you'll have to do that a few times to get it sewn in there stationary. And now I'm sewing with 2 layers of thread, 2 plies of thread, and that's okay. Okay, and then back to the wrong side. And then I'm gonna do a square knot. So I'm gonna take a little bite of the fabric. Okay, so I'm into the metal part there. That's why I couldn't get it. Okay, and I could have used a thimble again, but I've got it. Okay, so I'm gonna make a loop. And so now I've got 2 plies, so I've got a double loop here. So through the loop. And that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to make a knot like I did there. There we go, nice and neat, there we go, okay. All right, and if you want to, then you can go back through the thread one more time. Really nice and tight, and that's 1/2 of your hook and eye. All right, now I'm gonna use double ply this time because we want this to be strong. So I'm going to tie that knot, run the bunny around the tree, pull the knot off, and I get a nice neat little knot. Clip away that thread. Okay, now we're ready to do the other side. So once again, you want to try to tuck that inside there a little bit. Okay, so I've got the hook here. I'm gonna start by going inside so that my knot is hidden inside that fabric. I can cut those little threads away. There's 2 little threads there from my knot. Okay, now I'm gonna put that eye, tuck it inside there and hold it, and then I can go ahead and start going down and back, hoping that I'm getting it through the 2 little loops there, But if I go down and back a few times, I am bound to catch it. Okay, so once you've done that a few times, then just go ahead and tie off your square knot again. Through the loops, square knot, through the thread, one more time, square knot. Catch your threads, you got your hook and eye now, and you've got your completed facing, and there's your hook and eye at the top of your dress. And I wish I would have gotten mine a little, in fact I think I probably will move it later. I could try to move that in a little further because I'd like for that to tuck just a little bit closer like that. So I can either move the hook in a little bit or I can move the eye over. But anyways, I'd like for that to be a little tighter like this. Okay.
Cut that part out.
So after you have sewn the facing in, we're going to do something called stitch in the ditch. So all kinds of terminology you've learned today. You've learned grading the seam, under stitching, slip stitch. Now we're going to do stitch in the ditch. And this is just a way to hold the facing in place. So, you know, we have it tacked back here, and now we're going to stitch in the ditch here. So it's all been pressed beautifully. So it's nice and flat. Now I'm ready to come to the machine. And I'm just stitching right in the seam. That's what stitch in the ditch means. So it won't be visible, especially if you match your thread. You can see I've changed thread. I didn't want to put a red stitch on the outside of my garment. So I've got white thread on here now. And you just stitch right in that seam. So you'll see, you can't even see that stitch. But see, on the wrong side, it just held the facing in place, so it's not going anywhere. It is stationary. I'm going to do the other side. Stitch right in the seam, drop the needle right in the seam, little tiny back stitch to lock it, little back stitch, and looks like that on the outside, stationary on the inside. That's the last step. Facing's in.